Let's call this meeting to order. Robert and Dana will not be in attendance this evening. I'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is right behind you. Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And with that, the mission statement, the Viroqua School District provides a quality education for all students that inspires continuous learning, positive relationships, curiosity, and compassion in an environment that welcomes diversity while developing respectful and responsible citizens. We have oath of office. So this is going to be Dana, and I believe that.
I'll just, no, I can come right over to,
You see over there. So Matt's going to be to Dana.
no, they're just gonna both read it.
You're gonna get it together. That's right. Oh,
Let's stand over here though, so you can. Mike, can you change the camera, please? Yes. Okay. And you guys can just read it together.
ready? Go.
I, Dana Holfelder, have been elected to the office of school board member, but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof. Swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability.
Welcome aboard. Next meeting,
Can you please read that?
Yep.
The new term of the starts on
Monday.
Can you say that out loud?
All right, so the new term for Dana starts on Monday, and Matt's new 3-year term starts on Monday as well. Student board report, we have, pardon me?
Or do you want to do board report first?
You know what? Since the students are here, I said I'm going to do the student board reports first, if that's all right. We are combining this with Spotlight on Education. So we have Skills USA students here tonight and some student representatives from Skills USA. How about if you come forward and introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what you've been up to?
You guys want to just come all as a
On this
group
side,
over
if you don't
here
mind.
so that the camera can pick you up? Come on, right over here, stand next to me, and then right here, this little black thing up there is the microphone. So
So you want
Nice
to
and
kind of
loud.
speak loudly?
Yep.
Introduce yourselves first.
So my name's Andrew Salverson. I'm this year's president.
My name is Vinny Klum. I'm this year's treasurer.
I'm Hudson Running. I'm this year's vice president.
My name's Trent Schmidt. I'm this year's project manager.
My name is Elizabeth Colburn. I'm this year's reporter.
So thank you all for coming. So tell us a little bit about what you've been doing with Skills USA, please.
Okay, so I compete in the small engines competition. I got second at the regionals last month or so. And then we'll be going down to competition on Tuesday and Wednesday.
I compete in the math competition, and this Wednesday I compete in the drone competition.
I competed in the small engine competition, and this next Wednesday, I'm going to be competing in the drone and diesel competitions.
I competed in the small engine competition down at Platteville, and then this for state competition, I'm competing in the diesel mechanic.
I competed in the math competition at Platteville and placed first there. And so I will be competing in that at state.
So when you say you're competing, can you explain a little bit about what that looks like?
So like the small engines competition one, we do, well, so we timed an engine, we torqued head bolts. Then there's a basic written test on your knowledge and tools and procedures. And then so the diesel competition will be the same.
Thank you.
Well, the math competition is kind of, they just bring you into a room and then you have a resume and they grade you on that and how you're dressed, and they give you a math test and they grade you on how well you did on that, and then they find the overall winner. And this Wednesday is our first time doing the drone competition, so I guess we'll have to see how it goes.
How do you prepare for that?
Well,
drone.
we've been working on a drone, like there was a team ahead of us that worked on it, and now we coded a drone and built a drone. And now we fly it, so. Yeah.
Any?
Um,
Anyone add?
I just, yeah, so the drone, we built it and we still got a couple things we gotta fix on it, hopefully by Wednesday. Um,
Does anyone have any other questions for them? Pardon me?
They have a presentation.
Go right ahead. I didn't know if they were doing something live or something virtual.
Let Carl share it.
He should have access.
He's there.
Yep.
While he's doing this, do you want to introduce your teachers?
Sure. So Mr. Gabrielson and Mr. Zuby are our advisors. Yeah.
So as a board, we would like to thank you for taking on this role. I know that it's a big time commitment and we appreciate all that you do for our students. Thank you.
Well, I don't know how many of you have ever heard of Skills USA before today.
We've heard of it, but I don't think I know what it is.
We're gonna try and educate you. Skills USA is a partnership of teachers and industry, all the way from middle school through college. And they work with industry to basically prepare these kids for jobs. That kind of in a nutshell. It was originally known as VICA, and it was VICA from 1965 through, I believe, 2002. A couple different name changes. They shortened it from Skills USA VICA to just Skills USA in 2002. More than 600 corporations and trade associations, labor unions work together to help fund and kind of guide this to where they needed to go. And it was basically created because there was a lack of skilled professional trade workers. More than 6,500 students compete in over 100 different contests. And these are contests from barbering and cosmetology to first aid, CPR, firefighting, crime scene investigation, masonry, whatever, electrical, plumbing. If you can think of it, that's what they have competitions in. And it is an employer-driven youth development program. So professionals from industry help guide the contest, help create them, give them the guidelines for that. This year we started from scratch, so to speak. There's been a few that have competed over the last 25 years, nothing really chapter worthy. We base it a little bit on FFA, but we don't want to be in competition with FFA. A lot of crossover. In fact, I think most of you are officers in the FFA as well. So we'd like to share. We started this year, or last year actually, by taking 40 kids to the state competition in Madison. That translated to about 30 kids coming to our first meeting this last October. And we have about 15 active members that we've hung on to. And we did regular meetings, we did some work nights, worked on projects. We worked in the concession stand. That was kind of our main fundraiser until we kind of got going this spring. Most of our officers are here. We're missing my daughter Maddie. She didn't make it tonight. This last year, they'd said that we went to a regional competition. Those were the kids that we took. The ones that didn't compete went and watched the contest that interests them. So then they learned about welding, sculpture. What else did they know? The 3D printing. So we did have some winners. Cute little Andrew place. And of course, Elizabeth won the trade related math competition. And then April 8th, we had a fundraiser. I believe it was one of the first cookouts at the Agri Center. We missed this lovely stuff that's out there right now and had an awesome day. Sold a couple cutting boards. So our effort so far has granted us a total of about $2,856 to add to our treasury. And that's what we're using to fund our way to competitions and buy project material to hopefully get more money and offer these guys more opportunities to see things. That's a picture of the state contest, kind of aerial view. That's where we're headed next Tuesday, Wednesday. We're gonna take 8 kids down and they're gonna compete in related technical math, 3D printing, drone demonstration, and diesel equipment technology. That's kind of the near future. Where we want to go is plan a summer trip and a study up for next year's competitions and look for some community service opportunities. And then there is a video. You guys want 3 minutes to kind of see what nationals looks like? Sure. I don't know how it sounds, but that's true. Maybe just online.
So do you have to finish first at state to go to nationals? Is that how, or is there a
Yes, there is a qualification to get to nationals to compete. And just like FFA, where our goal is to have enough in our treasury to be able to take a group of seniors down in a couple of years to see the show. Hopefully we get to compete there, but
right?
we just go down and see the contests.
Where is the national held?
This year it's in Atlanta, Georgia. I don't know where it will be in 2024.
Do they have areas like robotics or artificial intelligence?
Yeah.
So So how do we get more, I'm gonna ask you all, how do we get more students interested in participating in Skills USA? Do you think?
I think it'd be good, there's like most schools don't know about this type thing since it's something new. So it'd be good to like advertise it out there and get the name known out there. So people ask like, what is this type thing? Like have people come to us, we could tell them what there is in all the competitions that there are to compete in.
Mhm. So do you all, as students, talk about your experiences at all with the younger, like, for example, incoming 8th graders? Do you have any conversations like that when you're talking about different options for students when they get to high school?
We haven't yet, but that would be a good idea.
Maybe you all can lead that.
Yeah.
And each of you are seniors this year, correct? No?
I'm a junior.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, okay. All right. I thought you said they were all seniors. Okay. So that might be an opportunity maybe to spread the word a little bit. And what type of fundraisers do you have? You have the brat
So
sale.
we've did the brat sale. We'll have another one coming up in June. And then we've sold a bunch of cutting boards and then we've been working in the wood shop too to make more projects to sell
Okay.
And a concession stand.
and concessions.
Okay. What's your financial goal this year? Do you know? How? Well, I'm just wondering how much you need to do what you would like to do next year, for example.
Well, we're taking 8 people down to compete at the state convention. It's gonna cost about 1,400. Give or take, so, you know, to be able to take and have these opportunities for them to go, it takes money. So
Sure, absolutely, everything.
I haven't even begun to price, you know, like that, at my Georgia trip. It's to be able to go to a contest, it's gonna be probably about a minimum of $5,000. So,
Not per student,
but
not per student.
no,
Total.
it's about $100. I think registration at state was $90 per person. And then the hotel stays.
So where can people purchase these cutting boards? Maybe like some board members if they would really, want some.
Or perhaps make a donation too. How would one go about that? Like we have community members watching this,
So
so.
right now we have the Facebook page, but we want to like set up a online store. So like we have what we have in inventory to sell and also potentially making like a custom. So if you want something custom burned into the wood or something along those lines is what we'd like to do.
So right now, I'm asking you, if I wanted to write you a check, how would I do that? Prettier?
Would you make it up to me?
I'm guessing it would be, I'm wanting you to say you've make it out to the Viroqua schools for Skills USA. Is that correct? That's what you would do. I'm just trying to get you to say it out loud so that you can then tell people how you can send a donation so they all can raise some money. Well, thank you for coming. Does anyone have anything else?
I just want to say, watch that video. That's going to motivate a lot of people. Obviously, the skills that you guys are learning is needed out there tremendously. So just stay motivated, stay passionate, and keep driving. I thank you guys. It's awesome what you guys are doing. That's really good.
We can't thank your instructors enough because it's a big time commitment and we appreciate everything that they do to allow you all this opportunity. So thank you and good luck.
Even the teachers in the other areas, the family and consumer science, if they know that students have the passion for cooking, that they know that this lead them to this group. Because maybe there's some staff members that don't realize too everything that Skills USA is. So share it out.
Yep.
It's a little bit different than some places too, is they can compete in team competitions too. So like Hudson and Benny will be competing together. They're not too separate. They can compete together, where some of them are individual, but I think the biggest group you can get is 4.
Yeah, there's a construction one.
Yep.
That's got.
Very cool.
So we have an alumni that engineers drones. That's what he's doing for a living, and he's doing things that he can't talk to anybody about because he's working for the government. And so there are some really nice careers out there for people who are engineers and like flying drones around. That's how he started, is doing what you all are doing right now. So good work. Anyone else? So thank
All right,
you.
thank
Thank you for coming. And good luck. We hope you win some more of those medals and just connect with some industry out there too.
Act like you like each other. All right. Thank you,
Fantastic.
guys.
Thank you. All right, the next item will be the committee report. So Matt, would you like to start?
Yeah, the committee, policy committee met, and we did go through some of the
I wanted
updates.
to have it first. I'm sorry. That's why I wanted to have them first.
No, that's why we're here. No, that's awesome. That's, yeah. Wish we could do that all night, so. Versus policy, here we go. So policies for approval, and these are going to be revised. These are legal updates, so requirements that are going to go into policy. Policy 2210, curriculum development. The policy is revised to more closely align with DPI regulations pertaining to curriculum development and content, as well as to reference the review process. Policy 2220, adoption of courses of study. This policy has been revised in coordination with policy 2210 to better reflect the DPI regulations. Policy 2221, special observance days. This policy has been revised to align with current state law that specifies September 11th as a special observance day, as well as certain provisions for Arbor Day. Policy 5200 is attendance, and this policy is going to be revised to incorporate definitions of key terms for both purposes of the policy. These definitions are going to be required in order to enforce truancy requirements and potentially to enforce open enrollment termination provisions in the context of habitual truancy. And policy 5410, the promotion, placement, and retention. This policy is going to be updated to include new definitions to match the current administrative practice. Policy 5517, student anti-harassment. This policy is revised for purposes of consistency with current laws and regulations regarding student anti-harassment. Policy 5771, search and seizure. This policy has been revised to provide an additional option for the currency of inspections and an updated statutory reference. Policy 7440 facilitates security. So language has been added to reflect a recent Wisconsin Court of Appeals decision, which permits searches of non-student visitors or vehicles on student property under certain circumstances. And policy 8405, environmental health and safety program. This policy is going to be revised to more closely align with statutory requirements for developing indoor environmental quality plan, and additional and updated citations are added. Policy 8450, control of casual contact communicable diseases, and revisions are made to this policy to more accurately reflect the statutory requirements and authority granted to certain school staff and required action found in Wisconsin statutes. And policy 8800, religious activities and observances. So this policy is going to be revised to reflect the recent U.S. Supreme Court decisions clarifying the equal importance of and the interaction between the Constitution's first two amendment, the two First Amendment clauses pertaining to religious rights. And then we do have some policies for first reading. There's one new policy, 8802, patriotic observances. And this policy is added to separate the observance language from the religious activity policy to more accurately distinguish those concepts. And revised policies, policy 0100, definitions. New definitions have been added for the terms legal notice and official newspaper. Policy 0175, the association memberships. This revision adds an additional membership option for the board. And policy 2430, district sponsored clubs and activities. The policy has been updated to include language permitting use of the district logo and other intellectual property when in compliance with the policy in order to be consistent with the current guidelines. And policy 3215, 4215, the use of tobacco with nicotine by professional and support staff. Policy 5512, use of tobacco and nicotine by students, and policy 7434, use of tobacco and nicotine on school premises. These policies are revised to specifically prohibit smoking as intended and to reference marijuana and hemp derivatives within the context of smoking. And policy 5330, administration of medication in emergency care. This policy is updated to clarify options and includes revised language regarding the storage of medications. Policy 5340, student accidents, illness, concussion, and sudden cardiac arrest. This policy has been revised to reflect the best practices regarding the health, safety, and welfare of students. When a teacher or coach determines a student is exhibiting signs, symptoms, or behavior consistent with a concussion or a head injury. And policy 8600, transportation. This policy is revised to incorporate regulatory language regarding placement of video and audio surveillance equipment in district-owned or contracted busing services. So that's our update coming out of the policy committee. We didn't have any changes necessarily for anything, and no concerns if any of the updated policies.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Curriculum committee.
The curriculum committee met before this meeting, and we just want to thank everyone who worked on the documents that we're reviewing. We had very few comments. The formatting is wonderful. They're easy to read. The standards are all in the document. We commented that if a teacher had to step in and teach a class, or a new teacher comes in, these are really great guiding documents for them. They would know exactly what needs to be covered in every unit, and some of the options for assessments are in there. Math, the intro to probability and stats was probably the most work, is what Krista Strachan said. They have new materials for that class. Math standards changed, but didn't impact the actual classes. That was my takeaway in one sentence. Art, our only comment was that maybe they could add something about written and literacy connections in some of the assessment areas. How do those kinds of things tie in? But again, just very easy to follow from elementary to middle to high school, what is covered in art. And then the final review was of a social studies class that was related to Act 30. We have to include Holocaust and genocide. So we got courses, we're meeting that act in ELA and social studies, and this was the 8th grade class. So if you look at the document, the additions are highlighted within unit 8, I believe. Anything else, Angie?
Yeah, it was
You were
within 8th
there.
grade. No, we want to thank all of the teachers and Krista, because it's a tremendous amount of work, and you could see it's very professionally done, and it's so nice to have us in this place with curriculum that teachers are working together and really digging in and figuring out what might be changed. But if you actually look at what kids need to know, they need to know the same things that they needed to know before. So it's kind of interesting. The process is good for the teachers, but not necessarily some of the numbering systems that they're making them change. It's not really relevant to learning. That would be my take. But it's a lot of work, and they're doing a fabulous job. Next item, do we have any visitors? Any public comment? No, we have visitors, but not public comment. Nope. Nope. Thank you. Thank you, Beth. And then the consent agenda. So we have the approval of the agenda, proof of public notice, March meeting minutes, voucher summary 1 in the amount of $329,134.12. We don't have any retirements or resignations, and we don't have any appointments. The policy, these are the policies that are state statute We have the 23 summer school handbook and the 23 summer school contracts.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is item number 10. And it's voucher summary 2.
I move to approve the voucher summary 2 in the amount of $252,440.63.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I abstain. Information donations over $250. We have Salverson Seed, Tim Salverson, $500 for Skills USA, and Viroqua Track Club, $3,720.50 for track equipment. Obviously, want to thank everyone for their contributions and donations to these opportunities for our students. Is there anything that should be added to that? No?
Very generous.
Very generous, absolutely. The next item is new scholarships. We have the Vernon County Museum Endowment Fund, Sharon J. Stolson Scholarship, the Viroqua Area Rotary Club, Gary J. Krause Memorial Scholarships. These are all going through the Viroqua Area Foundation. The Rotary Club will give this donation this year, but that the Rotary Club will not be in existence after this year. And the Vernon County Museum Endowment Fund, that is, it can be for a scholarship. It also can be for programming at the Vernon County Museum. Anything you would like to add to those?
No, obviously, anytime we add new scholarships, opportunities for our students, it's an awesome thing. And if you've ever attended one of our awards banquets, those awards nights are just amazing. Jason, do you remember what we gave out last year? It's 100 and
we were just over 140,000.
To be able to give that from our community back to our students is just it's simply amazing. So thank you to the new scholarships, and can't wait till we award those recipients that money.
And we hope every senior will apply. Well, it's probably too late now. We hope they all did apply. I think it's too late now, but anyway, so it's a wonderful event. 23-24 school calendar. Tom, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, obviously the 23-24 calendar is an interesting one. So I wanted to make sure that we're pointing out a couple of those changes. So our back to school night typically is the last week in August, will actually be held on Thursday, August 17th. That's in the evening. That is a great night. We got to experience it for Pat and I for the first time last year. But it's a great night. We have a really great turnout. But it's going to be early this year. So we want to make sure we're calling everyone to that. As far as for our staff, we will be mixing some things up this year because of that early start. So we'll have our new staff orientation and in service on the 14th and 15th. 17th will be that back to school night of August, and then August 21st will be our first all staff in service. We usually do that backwards, where we have everybody together, and then there are a few days that just our teachers are here getting ready for the school year. We had to change that up a little bit this year because of the unique scheduling situation. And if you remember, we are starting this school year early so we can get out early and have that extended summer for the next year's projects that were approved by the community in the referendum. Any questions about that? Otherwise, the breaks are pretty typical. As far as student contact days are 177, just the same as they were this year. We didn't make any major changes that way. We are giving a little bit more flexibility for our professional staff for those pre-service in-service days where they're normally on campus for 4 days. We're going to provide them a couple of different opportunities throughout the month of August to make up some of that time that they typically would be here because we just do not have that time for them right now. And so again, we'll reanalyze or we'll analyze as we go forward and reassess what we need to do moving past this year. But for this year, we felt we needed to grant that flexibility. Any questions on that? All right.
The next item is the first reading of policy updates that Matt shared. It would be patriotic observance, definitions, association memberships, district-sponsored clubs and activities, use of tobacco and nicotine by professional support staff, administration of medication, emergency care, student accident, illness, concussion, and sudden cardiac arrest, use of tobacco and nicotine by students, use of tobacco and nicotine on school premises, and transportation. Those are all first readings. Those will be in the consent agenda next month. And if anybody has any questions, please reach out to Matt. Logo update.
All right, so a little over a year ago, we had our first conversation about a logo update for especially our athletic programs. If you remember, we had some students submit some options, and this is the one that kind of rose to the top. Obviously, as far as being student designed, I'm incredibly proud of the product that we got out of this. And so the reason we're bringing this up is because we are going to be having a pretty large project this summer on the gym floor in the high school. So if you have gone down this school year to the elementary to see the amazing floor down there that they redid last summer, I think our varsity programs got a little bit jealous that the freshmen were playing down over there on that beautiful court. And we do need to update. This is the summer that we need to update the high school court. And so that's when you need to make decisions and have conversations about when do we make a large logo change on the center of the court. And so this is essentially what we'll do. There are two different kind of options floating out there for teams. They can either have the orange V in the background like you see here, and the Blackhawks actual lettering and the word down there, or they can use a more simplified version like this one here. Which I'm not seeing. Hold on one second. Stop share. And there we go. So more simplified version. So what we're going to do on the logo, the floor is going to be the Blackhawk with the V, but not the lettering. The lettering will be on the sidelines. So just to give you guys more of an update on what you're going to see. Anytime you change a logo, there are emotions behind it, and we discussed that the last time as well. This is not something that we take lightly. However, it had been many years since we reevaluated that, and especially when we have the drive that we did of those students last year, we don't want to curve that. And they wanted a refresh, and I think it was definitely time for that. So you'll see these as we make changes. We're not going to make a sweeping change letterhead and every logo throughout the district. It'll be when we update, this will be the new logo as we're going through. We still appreciate the old logo, and we will still use that for other things, especially again like our letterhead, and we're not going to reprint every single sheet of that, or the opposite of. There are a lot of logos in this district. And so, we don't need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on that rebrand. We'll just do that as those things come. Any questions on that?
So the transition, I hear, is over time, but we are transitioning everything.
Eventually that will be, what we do. And again, a rebrand just for the gym is around $20,000. So we didn't feel that was necessary. And what we do we love this new logo. The students love it. The parents love it. It's on a lot of our booster club gear. And I've heard really, really good feedback about this. And so we're not, it's not something that we're shying away from, but we're also just not doing a full all out jump in rebrand. So it's going to be a slower transition than some take. But I do think it's a fiscally responsible one. Any questions?
I like this one.
And just in the gym itself, Tom's right. The gym was put in, I think, in 2013. And they had originally said you should probably plan on sanding it after 8 years, and we still haven't sanded it. So it needs to be sanded down, which is exactly what he's saying. And you have to make your decision on how you want your emblem and everything to look. There is also the old emblem up on the wall. It's a big one. We don't have any plans this summer to get that completed. So for those, I mean, we'll have 2 emblems in the gym for a period of time, and we're okay with that.
I think there's a small.
Yeah, there is. So,
Nothing really matches in the gym though. It looks like we've.
Yeah.
Painted at different times.
Which we have. So, yep.
yes.
It's historical. That
Yeah,
very good.
we're accurate. Yes. Third time. Yep. There we go.
Exactly.
Any other questions about that? All right.
Thank you. Preliminary budget, Mike.
So in your board packets, I don't even know how many pages it worked out to be. Of full reports that I wish I could take the credit for, but truly they are all created within the Baird model. Where we're at right now is I put the preliminary information that I can and have control over right now, along with some of, speculation as to where we're at. If you look at the 3rd page, that's the one, the revenue limit calculation 101. I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but I cannot emphasize it enough. It's the revenue limit. It's the revenue limit. It's the revenue limit. We're in a period of declining enrollment in Viroqua, as most districts are. But the bigger side of that is the maximum revenue per member has not changed in over 3 years now. And if you look at that, if you look at the total revenue limit with all exemptions, since 21-22 school year, we were at 11,859,276. That is the amount that we get to collect through both property taxes and equalization aid. That number I'm projecting right now to go down using the current law to 11,648,000. So that's a decrease of 210,505. That in itself would be hard to overcome, but when you have the inflationary of both wages, benefits, and utilities and everything like that, that number is just not sustainable. And we have backfilled it basically using our ESSER funds. And we can do that for maybe one more year. We are going to have to look at the 23-24 budget pretty hard if nothing gets done by the states in a positive direction. It's not just as simple as, us choosing to tax more. If you look down towards the bottom of that page, our mill rate using the same equalized property value. So our overall total school levy is going to basically remain the same. And that is utilizing some of the benefits we have of our debt service and our community service fund to try to hold that levy equal. I can't say it enough. I mean, if we don't see something different from the state on the revenue limit and with the special ed aid percentage going up, the general fund is going to be hard to fund. That's just the bottom line. And there's a lot of different charts and graphs that can show you how to get to those numbers, but that's the one that I just wanted to bring forward. So I guess next step we'll be scheduling with the new or the current, depending on how that shakes out, finance committee, kind of laying things out for them, and then going forward with the compensation committee also, because those are obviously the two committees before we could get a budget in the near future here for your approval.
Thank you for that rosy picture.
Yep. Revenue limit.
Revenue limit. Yes.
And everyone's in the same.
Everyone's.
Every
in the same.
We are not unique here.
No, we are not
At all.
And as far as declining enrollment, we are only declining in students, whereas other districts are.
And even so, there's over 80% of schools in the state of Wisconsin that are declining enrollment right now.
And there are schools talking about having to possibly dissolve if something doesn't change Because they've been using the other funds and those are gonna go away. It's gonna be done.
Yeah, and so again, we're using ESSER funds as we were directed to, not by the federal government, but by our state government to
Right.
fill the gap from the $0 increases that we received in the state budget process 2 years ago. So that's why we are advocating the way we are for this budget cycle.
Thank you. And the way Bear does it and explains everything is very well done. Thank you for that. District Administrator.
Building project update. So as we talked about a little bit earlier, some things that are happening. And it's not just design necessarily anymore. I mean, we're still in that process. We will have some geotechnical borings that will happen next week, and that's when they go in and do the soil testing for the spaces in which they're going to be doing the additions to make sure that they have the support that they need and that they're not also going to cause any more issues by creating additions in the places that they are. Bigger conversation we had about a Lula elevator. It's essentially giving us what we need. Typical elevators are in they're over a ton at least in capacity, sometimes up to 2,800 pounds. For what we use it for and the limited space that we have, we do not need anything over the 1,400 pound capacity of this, which is more of a retrofit, which means we don't have to go deeper and dig out a huge pit, which is what with hydraulics and everything like that. So this is going to be run more on an electric kind of system that is more suited for what our needs are. So it's kind of it's definitely better than a scissor lift, but it's not the full structure of a hydraulic elevator. And so we do feel that this is the right move for us. And so kind of splitting that difference. They're also looking at adding a single-use restroom when they model the restrooms to become ADA compliant. So that'll be a handicap accessible restroom. Another change is they are looking at adding a canopy, which Mr. Brendel really is excited about, over in between the middle school office area here, where they will have the same exit and entrance that is they currently have, but with the new addition, there creates this long tunnel on the outside, which is going to be really terrible for snow. And so they're going to essentially provide a canopy there so that the snow can't get as far back in that tunnel. Stormwater retention ponds, civil engineers will be in later this week to look at where we need to improve our stormwater retention. We know for sure there will need to be a pond added over at the elementary with all of the changes we're making to the parking lot and to the parent drop-off area over there. So we know we will be adding one somewhere over in that vicinity, as well as a major reconstruction of where water currently goes up here on Black Hawk Drive. We are able to, in the current scope, create a middle school science classroom that will be a 5th and 6th grade lab in the new addition that will be constructed in the back corner of our buildings. We didn't know if that was going to be possible, and it is, and that's super exciting. So I'm sitting down with Mr. Zuby later this week so we can kind of talk some design, but right now he's going to go from 0 sinks. First mock-up is 7 sinks in his classroom, and that is a drastic improvement when he's trying to do some of those labs, and currently taking all of his supplies out of his room into the staff lounge with a very small sink to clean and to make sure everything's put back in order. So that will be that's less than ideal. And now we're kind of getting to this really awesome opportunity for our 5th and 6th grade students. We also, big one is the elementary firewall. So with the new addition over there, they needed to put in a firewall. You have 2 choices essentially when that happens, is you can put in a sprinkler system, which is often very expensive, or do a firewall. With the current design that they have, they needed to put in a code petition of variance so that it could still be an open space and essentially have fire curtains that are rated just like a fire wall, that in the event of a fire would drop down and give you the same rating. We still need to submit, and they have submitted those those drawings to our local building inspector and to Chad, the fire chief, to review, and they will be giving us their findings essentially on what they do, whether they support that or not. And that's part of that legal process. And so essentially will still allow us to keep an open concept of that space. Once you get into past the two-stage entry, will allow much more open space, which is kind of what we want, versus a more closed off. There are multiple doors, because now we can use it during the day versus it just being an after school space. We want to be able to use it for lunches and for some of those larger group activities. And then we got to see some of the exterior finishes. So they gave us a couple of different options that they can't do a brick match. We knew that was really slim coming in with how old the buildings are, and trying to find something that is faded enough to fit in. So what they suggest is not matching the texture, so that you can have some variance in there so that it doesn't look, so they want something close in color, not in texture. So essentially, what we're looking at is a smooth cast stone finish that is similar to the pool. That's the closest thing we have to it, that it's going to match similar in color, but not in texture. And so that's where we're leaning for the new building structures. Mike, anything else to add on that?
I mean, you mentioned the retention ponds, and I think probably 3 or 4 ponds, and
Yep.
That was a big part of our discussion. And just where they're at with the tech ed.
Yep.
They're to the point of picking out equipment and where to put it.
Tech ed has been busy, and we thank them. The 3 of them have been outstanding. 4 now, with Hannah joining that group this last week or 2 weeks ago. And so that has been really, really incredible, the amount of time and energy they're putting in to make sure that they have a space that's going to give our students the best opportunity moving forward. And it's going to be beautiful. It is going to be a really, really cool showcase of our tech ed department and the skill set that our kids have, similar to what you saw tonight. And so this is going to be, it's going to be a great opportunity for our district. Any questions about the building projects?
The retention areas, I am concerned with that, with the experience that we've had at the athletic facilities, the track and football fields, with water flow.
So the ones that they are looking at now, they did look at the entire site, including that area. And so some of them, one is designed and they're still looking at placement, probably closer to the old bus garage, in between that and the current district office, to minimize the washout that is happening down on the south end of Ben Lawton Drive. You can, as you go farther down the hill, it gets really rough, and which is part of our issues with maintaining that road. And so, yes, that is absolutely
through this. They did find one of our current ponds has a.
Okay. So whatever they think they're going to need to do from past experience is not enough. And we had to do more and more and more. And so I just want to emphasize, whatever they think the amount of water is coming through there, they're probably off some. It's
well, and obviously I don't know what group you used. The group of Myra and HSR have been outstanding to
it was
work with,
HSR.
and so we can continue to work through that.
It was HSR.
But again, they use different companies on the back end as well. So for some subcontracting and really seeing what's under the ground, which is really overwhelming when you look at it, Mike. Is that the when we got some of those drawings back, it's like, okay, we're gonna have to trust some experts here. And when they tell us we need a retention pond there, so we'll keep working through that process, and the borings will really tell us a lot about what we need to accomplish throughout that. All right. Any other questions about the building projects? All right, early learning center update. So punch list items were completed. Siding is now 50% finished. If you've driven past that or driven by the building, it looks awesome. They are going to continue to work on that. Gables will be starting next Monday. I don't know if you know this, but today they weren't able to get out there. They emailed us early and kind of apologizing, and I'm like, no, you do not need to apologize. We don't need you out working in the snow right now. And then tomorrow they do have a training, so we'll see, just a 2-day delay at this point. They've been working, incredibly hard, to get that up as soon as we can, and working around, Sharon's schedule and trying to make sure, we're, minimizing disruption for the students in that building, the children in that building during the day. Looking at expanding the license now in May. And so when we're looking at this, we have waiting lists in nearly every group except for 2-year-olds. And this has been the common theme. I've got some theories, but I don't know if any of them can be confirmed. I think the thought that I have right now is that this is the group of students that were born in the height of COVID, and so have had a different start to their lives. That's my best guess. I don't understand why we have a plethora of 3-year-olds and we have a bunch of infants to 1.5. But we will continue to work through our process for that. And that's really where we're at with that. So it's exciting to look at that expansion, and that'll be a license of up to 70 students at that point. Any questions on the ELC?
Everything else going great there?
Yeah, the staff is unbelievable. We've assembled, Sharon's done a great job at putting together an awesome staff that's just excited to be there right now and excited to learn and work together. I've heard great feedback from the parents that are going there. We expanded our infant room and doubled it essentially in size because we were lacking the 2-year-old, so we could add another infant room to accommodate. And now we have another group that we should be actually probably filling a 3rd room. That causes later issues down the line with our ratios and things like that, but it's incredible. So we still have, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but we still have children that are not born yet on the waiting list. And that's just incredible to me that we're still having that even after we've started, and we still have people on that list.
I had a community member, send me a picture of their son on his first day of going to school there. And then this was just a couple days ago, and then thanking our district for providing that opportunity for his family. It was very nice, and how much they are enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone else? Administrative reports. Jason?
Yeah, so there's a few things coming up. High school level. I guess going in chronological order, starting with co-curriculars. We had a great week last week. I don't think we canceled anything last week. Then we got snow today. And I think there's like a 90% chance of rain Wednesday and Thursday of this week. So we'll see. I half-heartedly joked with Dan earlier today. I'm like, the tennis court, they're melted. I'm like, if we could get them dried, maybe we could have tennis tomorrow. Because I think we were scheduled to have 3 home tennis events this week. So it'd be great if we could get one of them in. But otherwise, they've been doing a great job with that. And just working around the schedules. We picked prom date for next year, so we could start working on the spring sports schedule for next year already. Because you definitely do get merged in between a couple of different seasons in different years. So with that, prom is coming up. It's not this Saturday, but next Saturday. So we worked with junior class advisors, junior class, and Tom helped with that too. And the class wanted to have it out at Pedretti's Party Barn. We're a little unique in that our school sponsors the prom and the post prom. So working with the class, we thought it was really important that whatever it is gets done by midnight. I don't think for those that have young drivers, their probationary licenses, they'd like you to be off the roads by midnight. And obviously I would assume the DMV has some data that they use for that. So we worked with them. So basically, and having it out there, we are going to have the option that students can ride a bus out there if they don't want to drive out there. So there'll be a bus going out beforehand, in between prom and post prom, and then at the end also. So that the bus will arrive back here at midnight to finish up that event. So, but like I said, all that planning actually starts the year ahead. We really try to avoid as many conflicts as we can sports wise. But the more sporting things that happen on weekends. So for this case, there is a lacrosse track in the morning, I believe. And I think the boys tennis team is at, I think, Portage that morning too. So, but if it would have been this weekend, there is girls softball big tournament places. So you can't avoid everything. So we try to limit the conflicts so the kids ultimately can go to everything. The Wednesday after that is the annual honors program. Recognize the seniors got scholarships, and like Tom led into my report.
It's only 2 years in a row.
You know,
I took your thunder on.
last year they were over 140,000. I actually don't know where they're at this year. The one thing, having a lot of kids in the district, I get to opt out of the planning of many of these events. So I'm in the middle of my second year in 4 out of 5 years of not having to be involved, not being allowed to be in that process, just to keep the validity of the process. So, but Jenny does a phenomenal job with the planning of that, and just coordinating with people have no clue the moving parts. And Sue Conway is new secretary up there, has been very instrumental in working through all that. So it's a great event coming up. Our community is very generous as far as our student body and helping them out. And for those that have college age students, you know, it's not getting any cheaper. And you can read about the news and everything else. So the more assistance they can get to get them their feet on the ground heading into college. It's obviously a great opportunity. And then last Saturday in May, it's graduation. It's actually not that far away. Having a graduate, it's not that far away. Shooting for an outdoor ceremony like we've done for the last 3 years. I think this will be maybe the 4th year in a row. I think it was 2020 that we did the late summer one. Was the first one we had out there. So we have not been looking ahead to the weather already at that point. Prom, it looks like it may be up at 50s and possibility rain, but we haven't been looking ahead to graduation. Obviously, if we have to make adjustments, either to moving it earlier in the day or moving it inside. The nice thing outside, we do have more seating. I think we kind of gotten the routine down a little bit. We could use a little bit less wind than last year. Last year it was nice and windy, which trying to keep the mic as protected as possible. But I think most people would still prefer to have it outside, especially if you have the good weather day. So definitely a lot of planning, like I said, wrapping up things for this school year, but already starting on many, many things for next school year.
Thank you. Summer school, Riley.
The enrollment period ended this past last week, Thursday. So I've started looking at the numbers. At the moment we're down a little bit, but we're still around the 300 in the 300s. So we usually get to the 300s. The only new thing that we don't know of yet. So initially we weren't going to be able to run a sports performance camp like we did last summer because we need a teacher to make that coexist. But we were able to make that work out. Now it's going to be Dan Brown and Eric Anderson. So I'm working on getting a flyer together to get sent out this week. So that'll add some more enrollment over the next couple of weeks. Otherwise, it's looking a lot like last year in that there's an outdoor adventures all day, every day class. We're teaming up with the after summer school library and got the sports performance camp going. I pretty much have all the teachers lined up, but once again, just trying to go through the enrollment because in the afternoon, some classes tend to get overflowing. So I'm just trying to balance things whenever I can. Yeah, are there any questions?
Do you know if there are students that are going to be going to the early learning center? Is there transportation, do you know, from the school? No, I didn't know if that was something that was being added this year or not.
We haven't this year. We do have a group of 11 4-year-olds that will be joining right now over the summer. And that will be essentially a summer position will be added at the ELC to cover that group. So we do have that option, and there are still more seats available for that summer, ELC spots that are open over there. But we have not coordinated as far as a part-time summer school part-time ELC at this point.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if that was being requested.
I'm glad you said something. I wasn't. I've met the new park and rec director. We met in my classroom last week, just trying to develop a connection there. So as of right now, we're just gonna treat the park and rec like we've normally treated it, and then we'll reconnect throughout the summer and at the end of the summer and see how we can improve it. I'm also looking into something called esports. But I haven't gotten very far on it yet. More so after the summer school, will I be able to kind of connect with others around the area that have implemented it. Are there any questions about what esports might be as I say that name phrase?
It's very popular. Anybody else have any questions? Thank you. Hope it's a great summer. Hope you don't get snow. Board report. We have a meeting on Wednesday, May 3rd, a reorganization meeting. VAMs, they didn't have the VAMs.
Be 5:45.
5:45.
Yep, our typical 5:45. Yep.
Okay.
For that first one, and then that way all board members can get there, and then yep, we'll go from there. I don't anticipate it being a super long, piece there. And that's the night of the honors program too. Is that correct, Jason?
Yep.
Yes.
So we
Yes,
definitely
please.
need to get out in time for that.
30.
And then VAMs did not meet tonight because of the weather. So Kim will report on that next month. Laurel High School update, Vicki?
Laurel High School Governance Council did meet on April 12th. And we reviewed old business and then also talked about having an annual meeting. And all Laurel parents would be welcome. They were thinking about having, a venue with some food and socializing as well. Also thinking ahead to next year to get some new board members on. We'll need some new parents involved. And also getting students involved in the governance council, and talked a little bit about the last day for seniors, May 23rd, and Laurel graduation on their own graduation on the 25th. So no meeting in May, but the next meeting will be Monday, June 12th.
Thank you. WASB legislative update. Matt and I and Tom, three of us went the day of the Capitol. Matt, do you want to add anything about the experience?
Experience wise, just probably the biggest takeaway that I had is just how contentious things are politically. They had a panel, both parties represented, everything, should have been a fairly easy conversation. And just really a lot of finger pointing and no solutions, just targeting and just not helpful. Anyway, boil it down to that. So a little disappointing there from a political standpoint, but great conversations with our politicians and again, being able to just grow those relationships, and it's a good experience.
The only thing I would add is speaking to the staffers. That was a very good experience speaking with all the staffers. I would also say that the experience of the subcommittee and for education, I don't know what the exact title is for the 4 people that spoke. You would hope that they would be able to find some common ground in education, but it certainly did not seem that way. And talking about the budget, we were speaking about our budget mainly when we were speaking to them, and mental health, as well as the voucher program. And we share all of Tom has been marvelous about sending all of the great things that are going on in our district and sharing the good of K-12 education in Viroqua. And so I think that's been very helpful because we're not asking for anything. We're just sharing what's going on that's going well and what could be going better. And I think more school districts are catching on to that. And so that's a bonus. We're not good about bragging about ourselves. And I think we need to do a better job of that.
I think the biggest thing as we keep going and as you talk with elected officials that is continuing to let them know that we're worth investing in. And the reasons are many. And so we need to make sure that we're controlling that message and not letting others control that for us, because I don't think we've done a great job of that, especially recently in education. So the biggest thing again is, I don't know how many times we need to bring students in here and be wowed by them, or how many times we need to, have these celebrations, thrown at people for them to catch on. But we're making headway there and saying, we're not blaming anybody. We're not, saying this is somebody else's issue, but we're worth investing in. And I truly believe we are.
I would like for us to take maybe a couple students next year. I think that students really connect better with our representatives. They can have a different conversation, and I think they like hearing from students. So hopefully we can do a little bit of that next time.
Great opportunity. Yep.
And it's a good opportunity for the students to go to the Capitol and speak to their local legislators.
And I do want to give a big shout out to Brad and Lauren for both coming off the floor. Lauren had a meeting with us. Brad, we talked with the staffers, but he came out from literally the gates of the Senate floor to make sure that we had a really great conversation just right there. So again, they're both very busy people, and for them to do that on a day where they were actually having some action happening in the Capitol was really good for us to be able to get that opportunity.
Much appreciated. Joint Finance Committee hearing. Tom, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. So we want to give a big shout out to Luke Zom. Luke gave us an entire day. And for a man that is as busy as he is, that's an incredible gift. And so the process was an interesting one. And Angie and I learned a lot, as well as Luke. It's an interesting process. First time that any of us have ever done anything like that. Essentially, you get down there really early in the morning, and then you hurry through this line, and then you wait. And so we got down there about 8 o'clock. We had some others that were speaking on the same topic as us that signed us up even earlier than that. And so we were signed up at about 6:30. 6:30 is when they started to line up. 8 is when they started to take the names, but we didn't speak until 1:30. So from 8 o'clock to 1:30, they started testimony at 10 a.m. And we sat in this really large room in the Dells until 1:30 in the afternoon so that we could, so it's about 5 hours of waiting time for 5 minutes of speaking time. It was incredibly interesting. But we have the Joint Finance Committee, which is 16 members, sitting in the front of the room, 2 microphones set up, and they crawl groups of about 12 individuals or groups up at a time, and you line up behind the microphones, and then you go and you talk about what you want to talk about. So ours was talking about the need to increase some of our numbers, as Mike was talking about, for our both the low revenue ceiling and special ed reimbursement rates. And really, the majority of our time was spent on highlighting why we're worth investing in, just like we talked about. So Luke did a great job at an intro. They got everybody hooked. And so most of the time, and I cannot believe that the Joint Finance Committee does it this way, because that's a lot. So they started speaking at 10 a.m. and I don't believe they got done until after 4. And it's solid. There's no breaks. There's no anything for these poor people as you're listening to countless people. Some, obviously very animated and upset. Some of them, vouching, and everybody vouching for their spot in the political sphere, right, of where they fall within the budget. And so it it took a lot of our time, but I think we definitely made an impact. We've heard really great feedback in the testimony we did give. We're really excited about the potential impact that we have. Obviously, we'll never know, and that's part of the unknown is a part that is really awful here, is that we don't know if we actually made an impact or not. But what we do know is that we gave everything that we could and took every opportunity afforded to us to make an impact. And that will need to continue as we move forward. Again, we control the message or somebody else controls it for us. And so we want to be in control of that message. So thank you, Angie, for giving an entire day and 5 hours in one room of your life. I appreciate it.
Interesting though, when you talk about, word is out that there's a $7 billion surplus. Who shows up at those meetings with their handout. So
and again, that's why we try to be different with our messaging. And
it's not just students.
No, it was everybody.
Every industry in the state is trying to get in on.
Right. We had everything that you can imagine was represented.
There wasn't anyone that spoke that you didn't think that they deserved to have more money. And that's one of the messages. Everyone that spoke, you could not disagree with any of them. And so it's complicated for sure. The only thing I would say is I would like to thank Tom for organizing it and making it possible for us to speak, because it does take leadership in order for our message to be shared. And I appreciated going, and I am very hopeful that they looked at us and they seemed to be very present when we were speaking, and they weren't that way with many others. So I'm hopeful it made some type of a difference, and our message was positive and not pointing fingers at anyone, why we need it, where it's going to go, how it will be helpful. So it was an interesting day.
Hard decisions are going to have to be made.
Absolutely.
Yep. And then
Absolutely.
whatever happens, hard decisions will have to be made.
Again.
I think they could do it differently, and I think they could do it better. But that's not my problem, as we say, but they really could condense things so that people that are speaking to a topic and have a similar message, that you wouldn't have 25 of them speaking the exact same words. That could be done differently.
Yep.
So anyway, but I learned from it, and I am better for it. And it was, hopefully it made a difference. I also want to share that CISA 4, the delegate event will be on June 7th at 6:30. When we have our next meeting, someone from our board will need to be on that committee. And then the WASB new board member meeting is tomorrow, 18th in West Salem from 7 to 9. I'm assuming people know that, but that's something I wanted to share. Also, from the school news that we get, there was an article on strategic planning, which we're in the process of. And if anyone wants to reference it, it's well written. I think we're on the road ahead of what they're talking about, but it was very good to read. And then STEM learning, which ties into our referendum that passed, as well as what was spoken to tonight from Skills USA, kind of hand in hand, but that's another interesting article talking about what schools are doing to plan for larger spaces. And with that, we as a board would like to thank Amanda Running for her 15 years of service. You will be missed. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I look forward to working with you in another capacity.
Thank you.
So thank you, Amanda. Would you like to say anything?
No, I mean, it's been a great 15 years. There's absolutely no reason other than on to other things. So it's been great. Lots of things happened in 15 years for sure.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your service. We appreciate it. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.